You might not need more speed work. You might need a lighter handbag. Because if you are a female runner asking, why am I not getting faster? The obvious answer seems to be, I need to train harder. More intervals, more hill repeats, more tempo runs, more discipline, more grit. But very often, this is exactly what keeps you stuck. Because speed does not show up just because you force it. Speed shows up when your body has enough space, strength, fuel, and recovery to produce it. And a lot of female runners are trying to run faster while carrying far more than they realize. This is your running bag. You have your keys, your phone, maybe a pair of sunglasses, maybe a snack, maybe a receipt you fully intended to throw away, but apparently it's decided to be kept as historical evidence. Then life starts adding things. Poor sleep goes in, work stress goes in, hormones go in, underfueling goes in, a tempo run goes in. That strength session you skipped for 3 months goes in too, because now your body has to compensate for it somewhere else. And suddenly you are trying to run faster while carrying a bag full of hidden load. Then you blame your fitness, you blame your age, you blame your pace, you blame your watch, which to be fair sometimes deserves it. But the real question is not, why can't I move faster? The real question is, has anyone checked what I'm carrying? That is what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to show you why female runners often stop getting faster even when they are training consistently, why adding more hard running can backfire, and how to unpack the things that are quietly weighing your training down. And stay with me, because the thing that most runners are proud of is often the thing making the bag heavier. So let's start with this idea. Your speed session is not the only thing in the bag. That is the mistake many runners make when they look at their training. They say, I only ran 4 times this week, or it was only one hard workout, or I should be able to handle this because I've done harder before. And maybe on paper that makes sense, but your body is not just carrying the run. Your body is carrying the whole bag. It's carrying your sleep, your stress, your hormones, your strength, your fueling, your recovery, your work week, your family life, your mental load, and everything else you bring into that session. So if you're not getting faster, we need to stop looking only at the workouts and start looking at what else is already in the bag before you even lace up your shoes. The first thing that goes in the bag is poor sleep. And if you're a female runner, especially if you're in your 40s, 50s, or around perimenopause or menopause, sleep can become one of the biggest hidden limiters. You may go to bed tired, fall asleep, and then wake up at 3 a.m. with your brain suddenly ready to solve every problem you have ever had, including that one awkward conversation from 2014 that absolutely did not need a follow-up. Or you wake up hot or restless, or you technically sleep, but it's that light, broken sleep where you wake up feeling like your body spent the night buffering. The next day, you try to run faster and wonder why your legs feel flat. But poor sleep is already in the bag. And poor sleep affects recovery, energy, mood, motivation, coordination, and how hard a run feels. So if you try to hit faster paces after several bad nights, you are not starting fresh. You're starting with a weight already on your shoulder. That does not mean you can never train when sleep is imperfect, because if we all waited for perfect sleep, many women would never train again. But it does mean the plan needs to respond. A hard session after a terrible night may need to become an easier run. A speed workout may need to move by a day. A long run may need to be more controlled. And that's not necessarily losing fitness. It's not about being soft. That is just checking the bag before you try to sprint with it. This is what actually checking the bag looks like. We built a tool that lets you test what is personally weighing your recovery down. Because for some runners, it is caffeine too late in the day. For others, it's a glass of wine with dinner. For some, it's simply sleeping in a darker room. Your bag has its own weights, and the only way to find them is to test them against your own body and not someone else's. The next thing in the bag is stress. And this is the one runners often underestimate because it does not look like training. You count kilometers, you count pace, you count intervals, you count the long run. But most runners do not count the meeting that went badly, the child who needed something at the last minute, the parents you are worried about, the work deadline, the life admin, the traffic, the messages, the appointments, or the fact that you are the person who somehow knows where everyone's sport kits, dentist appointments, and spare charger is. Your body counts all of it. It does not go, that was emotional stress, so I'll keep it as separate from training stress. It all goes in the bag. And when the bag is heavy, speed is harder to access. This is why you can do the exact same session 2 weeks apart and have two completely different experiences. 1 week, the session feels controlled, almost like you're finally getting somewhere. And then the next week, the same pace feels like someone has secretly added bricks to your shoes. The workout didn't change. The bag changed. And if stress is high, it does not mean you should never run hard, but it does mean you need to be more selective about when you ask your body for speed. Because speed work is not just a cardiovascular challenge, it's a nervous system challenge as well. It asks the body to recruit muscles quickly, produce force, coordinate movements, and then recover from that higher load afterwards. If your system is already overloaded, the speed session may not land as fitness, it may just land as more fatigue. Now, let's put underfueling in the bag, because this is one of the biggest reasons female runners train consistently but stop improving. A lot of women are trying to run faster while also trying to eat less, shrink themselves, or make up for body changes that they don't feel happy with. And I understand why. There is so much noise around body weight, menopause, what runners should look like, how women should eat, and how disciplined we are supposed to be. But from a performance point of view, you cannot keep asking your body to produce more speed while giving it less and less to work with. That is like asking your phone to run maps, music, WhatsApp, emails, a video call on 8% battery, and then getting annoyed when it starts acting dramatic. Speed work needs fuel. Long runs need fuel. Recovery needs fuel. Muscle repair needs fuel. Hormones, bones, immune function, and mood all need energy too. So if you're underfueling, your body may protect itself by making speed feel harder, recovery slower, and training less effective. And this is especially important for female runners because low energy availability can affect performance, recovery, injury risk, hormones, and bone health. I want to say this clearly. Fuel is not a reward for running. Fuel is a part of training. If you want to get faster, the question is not, how little can I get away with eating? The better question is, am I giving my body enough support to actually adapt to the training? Because you do not get faster from the workout itself. You get faster when your body recovers and adapts after the workout. And if there are no materials to build with, nothing useful gets built. Now, we need to add hormonal changes into the bag. For female runners, this can mean different things depending on your age and stage. It might be menstrual cycle changes, perimenopause, menopause, postmenopause, or simply noticing that your body does not feel as predictable as it used to. Hormonal changes can affect sleep, temperature regulation, mood, energy, recovery, joint comfort, and how hard a session feels. That does not mean hormones are to blame for every bad run. They are not. And it does not mean you cannot improve. You absolutely can. But hormones are a part of the context. Think of it like weather on race day. If there's a headwind, you do not cancel the race and say all hope is lost. But you also do not pretend the wind is not there and then blame yourself for running a little slower. You adjust. Training is the same. If your body is giving you different feedback, your plan has to be flexible enough to respond. Some weeks you may handle the intensity well. Other weeks, the same session may feel like too much. That does not mean that you're inconsistent. It means that your body is not a spreadsheet. And honestly, thank goodness, because spreadsheets have no personality. Now, let's talk about strength, because this is where a lot of runners are carrying a heavy bag with a very weak strap. If the strap of this handbag is strong, it can handle more. If the strap is fraying, even a normal load starts to feel risky. That is what happens when runners try to get faster without enough strength. Speed is not just about your lungs. It's not just about wanting it more. And it's not just about doing intervals until your soul leaves your body. Speed is force. Every stride is your body applying force to the ground and then handling that impact that comes back. If your calves, glutes, hamstrings, quads, hips, and core are not strong enough to support that, your body may not let you access speed safely. Or it might let you access it for a little while and then send you a warning through a calf, Achilles, a knee, hip, or a sore foot. A lot of female runners say, I feel fit, but I cannot run faster. And that can be a strength issue. The engine's there, but the chassis is just not supporting it. And after 40 or 45, strength becomes even more important because muscle mass and power need more deliberate maintenance. Running is brilliant, but running on its own is not always enough to build or protect the strength you need to keep improving. So if you're not getting faster, ask yourself honestly, is your body strong enough to support the pace you want? Because sometimes the answer is not another speed session. Sometimes the answer is a stronger strap. Next, we are going to add one of the sneakiest things in the bag. Too many steady runs. These are the runs that are not properly hard, but they're not easy either. They are the runs where you say, I'll just run how I feel. But somehow, how you feel always ends up being a little too quick. They are the easy runs that become steady. The steady runs that become almost tempo. The group runs where you're slightly out of your comfort zone, but pretending that everything is fine. The long runs where you chase last week's average pace because the watch has become a tiny judgmental coach on your wrist. These runs feel productive because you finish sweaty, the pace looks decent, and you feel like you've worked. But if you do too many of them, they clog up the bag. They create fatigue without giving the same benefits as a truly hard session, and they are too hard to let you recover properly. So when the real speed session arrives, you're not fresh enough to do that well. This is one of the biggest reasons runners plateau. They do not have clear enough separation. Easy is not easy enough. Hard is not sharp enough. Everything becomes a bit medium. And medium is comfortable for the ego, but expensive for the body. So if you're not getting faster, the answer may not be to add more intensity. The answer may be to make the easy running genuinely easy so that the hard sessions can actually do their job. The final thing we are putting in the bag is lack of recovery. And this is where the handle starts to look nervous, because recovery is not just doing nothing. Recovery is when the body takes the training you have done and turns it into adaptation. The workout is the message, recovery is the reply. And that tool I mentioned, it's called Recoveria. It actually shows you whether your body is replying. Not just one night, the trend over time. Because one bad night tells you very little, but a trend tells you everything. If you want to take a look, the link is in the description. If you keep sending messages and never give the body time to reply, it eventually stops responding in the way you want. That is when you feel like you are training but not improving. You're doing the work, but it's just not landing. You're ticking off the sessions, but the body is not absorbing them. And that is frustrating because from the outside, it looks like you're being consistent. But consistency is not just doing more sessions. Consistency is doing the right work often enough and recovering well enough that your body can adapt. A runner who forces every session for 6 weeks and then gets injured for a month is not more consistent than a runner who adjusts early and keeps training. That is the hard truth. Recovery is not laziness. Recovery is a part of getting faster. And if you're a female runner trying to improve, especially with a busy life, hormonal changes, stress, and strength demands in the background, recovery has to be planned, not just hoped for. So now look at this bag. We started with a runner who wants to get faster, which is completely fair. But now she is carrying poor sleep, stress, underfueling, hormonal changes, not enough strength, too many steady runs, and not enough recovery. And then she asks, why can't I move faster? Well, of course, speed is difficult. No one has checked what she is carrying. This is why the solution is not always to try harder. Sometimes the solution is to unpack the bag. The first thing to take out is the idea that every run needs to prove your fitness. If the run is meant to be easy, let it be easy. The second thing to take out is underfueling. If you want to train like an athlete, you need to fuel like someone who expects her body to perform. The third thing to take out is junk intensity. Not every run needs to sit in the middle. Have proper easy days and proper hard days. The fourth thing to add is strength, because a stronger body gives speed somewhere to land. The fifth thing is recovery, because fitness is not built by constantly just adding more to the bag. It's built by giving the body enough room to adapt. And the sixth thing is better decision making. If sleep has been awful, stress is high, or a niggle is starting to repeat, the plan needs to respond before your body has to shout. That's not weakness. That is just how sports science works. And it is also just common sense. But sometimes runners need a sports scientist to give them permission to do the sensible thing. Now, if you're wondering where to start with this question. What is the heaviest thing in my bag right now? For one runner, it might be poor sleep. For another, it might be underfueling. For another, it might be doing every easy run too hard. For another, it might be no strength training. You do not have to fix everything at once. In fact, trying to fix everything at once is another way to make the bag heavier. Choose the biggest limiter first. If you're exhausted all the time, look at sleep, fueling, stress, and recovery before adding more speed. If you keep getting niggles when you try to run faster, look at strength and load management. If every run feels the same, create a clearer separation between easy and hard. If your pace has plateaued, check whether your easy running is easy enough to let your quality sessions actually be quality. Because getting faster is not about dragging a heavier and heavier bag down the road and hoping one day you'll magically run quicker. It's about making the body capable of speed. And that means building the aerobic base, adding the right intensity, strengthening the muscles that support the stride, fueling the work, and recovering enough for the body to actually adapt. That is how speed happens. Not from one hero session, not from punishing yourself, not from doing every run slightly too hard. Speed comes when the right signals are repeated consistently and the body has enough support to respond. So if you've been asking, why am I not getting faster? I would change that question. Rather ask, what am I carrying that is stopping me from getting faster? That question will give you a much better answer. Because very often you are not slow because you lack discipline. You are stuck because the bag is too heavy. And once you start unpacking it, your training begins to feel very different. Not easy all the time. Running still requires effort, but just a little bit more clearer, a lot more purposeful, and a lot more controlled. And finally, your speed work has a chance to do what it was meant to do. Now, this opens up another problem most female runners do not spot straight away, because sometimes the thing weighing the bag down is not the training plan. It is the fact that your body is already running on low energy before the run even starts. So watch this video next, because I'm going to show you why so many female runners feel tired even when they are doing the right things, and how to rebuild your energy so that training can finally start working again.